Hello and welcome to my channel. What you're seeing on the screen is the RSPDX receiver controlled by SDR Console Software. And I'm going to show you how to install this software quickly and how to set it up for use. Somebody's tuning up and down the band, aren't they? They keep doing that. Very interesting. Anyway, back to me. So welcome to the channel, and I hope you can follow through and I can press the right buttons to show you the right desktops and cameras at the right times. So let's go back to the desktop and close the software that's running. So I do it like that. I'm going to close this and then reinstall it with a newer version. Let me just check you're seeing the desktop. Yes, you are. Good. So first of all, you have to install the SDRPlay SDR Uno software from the manufacturer of the RSPDX receiver, and that is from this website here, sdrplay.com, downloads. I will put these links in the description below, of course. And once you've installed this, and it installs an API which can then be used to talk to the hardware from other software, you can install this, which is from sdrradio.com, and you need to scroll right to the bottom of the page and download the software. The download button doesn't do anything. You have to choose which version, 64-bit. I wouldn't download it from Microsoft. Let's get it from the web host there. So that's now downloading. And there's already a copy downloaded, but this is a fresh one. It's a zip. That's interesting. So let's open that file. There it is. And actually, you can just double click it and it'll unzip it and then run it, I'm sure, due to Windows sophistication. Let's see if that works. Yes, it did. I'm just going to check you really are looking at, yes, the desktop, not me. This is not the first take of this video. So do I want to install it? Yes. And this is going to go ahead, unpack and install. That's going to take a while. Whilst that's happening, let me just have a look at the notes that I made and the features that I want to talk about, because this SDR console is my favorite SDR software out of all of them, and you probably know there are many of these around, and it works with the RSPDX, which is my favorite receiver. It also works with the RTL SDR blog version 4, the newest one from them. That works nicely. And on the RSPDX you can switch antennas, which I find very convenient. I've got 3 antennas plugged in, 1 to each input. You can switch easily. The software has a lot of memory banks, so you can save frequencies and modes and so on. I'm clicking through this as I'm talking. Very clever. Multitasking for everyone. Yes, please. Okay, watch this now. Install in default location. There it goes. So I like the features of this software. It doesn't have any built-in native decoders with various digital modes, but you can add those in as modules. It also only runs under Windows, which is okay. A lot of software only runs under Windows, so I use a Windows computer for this. And I like the waterfall on this particular software, SDR console. It just looks nice. I find it easy to use. You can also control a transmitter. So the Hermes Lite 2, for example, can be plugged into it, and you can then transmit as well as receive, and that works. I tried it. And you can have multiple receivers running in different instances, so you can be looking at different frequencies with separate receivers, all from the same hardware, which I like. And also you can record either audio or the IF, intermediate frequency output, directly the I and Q outputs in phase and quadrature, so you can actually record a whole chunk of spectrum for later replay, not just the audio, and then tune around. Anyway, this is completed, so let's hit next. Let's start the program now. Let's see what happens. It's looking good. Let me just check we're still looking at the desktop. Yes, we are. That's also good. So when's it going to start? It's taking a while. It may be calculating filter coefficients. Some of these programs do that, and some of them take a very long time. Oh, so there it is. It's started. So if you fresh install, you might see something like this. With a very fresh install, you get a pop-up here that invites you to select hardware for it to work with, which receiver. But this pop-up hasn't popped up, so I need to push the button that says select radio. Hopefully you can see this up here, top left-hand corner. So I'm going to press that button, and it's going to search the USB ports, and it's found in RSPDX with a serial number and so on. So let's start off with the 2 MHz bandwidth. You can choose what bandwidth to start with, and you can choose it later while it's running. So let's hit start. That bandwidth goes up to 10 megahertz, by the way, which is a fair amount. It's only 2 megahertz on the RTL SDR sticks. So there it is, it works. What we're looking at here is the 14 megahertz band, 14.074, because I've already saved a lot of these frequencies. It's loaded up. The last one that I was looking at, when you started, I don't know where it'll start, but you can quickly choose a frequency that you like. Oh, there goes that person tuning up the band again. Well, it's a different one. There's a lot of activity today. So it's working. This thing annoys me. I'll show you how to get rid of that later. It just gets in the way, and sometimes the frequency read here isn't the same as the one here, which confuses me. I want one frequency readout, and it's that one. Actually, can I remember how to turn it off? I think you go to View. So on this Sigma button, capital Greek Sigma frequency, if you click that, then that's gone away now. So that makes me feel better. And I can just show you how to switch inputs. Here, antenna C, the BNC input, is the one for 0 to 200 megahertz only. And that's what we're currently looking at, which is plugged into a diamond 14 megahertz whip antenna on the balcony. So you can see it picks up lots of signal. If I switch to input B, that is a Wellbrook loop antenna, an active loop hanging on the wall indoors, and you can see that there's more noise and there's less signal, but it is a loop, and it's from very low frequencies up to 30 megahertz, is it, or 50? I can't remember, but it works, and it's indoors, so it doesn't get problems with water getting in. And of course, if I'm serious about 20 meters, then I'll go back to the BNC input and the 20 meter whip. You notice the noise change. You can auto adjust. If you just press that auto button, then it auto adjusts the peak and the noise floor to give you a spectrum with a reasonable contrast. You can see what's going on. You can see the bursts of noise in this domestic environment popping up from time to time. Anyway, let me go back to the notes, what I wanted to say. Yes, you can change what modes are displayed. It may start up with other modes than these ones, AM, FM, and so on. You can just select by putting a check mark in the boxes what you want. I want AM, I want CW upper and lower sidebands, broadcast FM, narrow FM, LSB and USB, and that's it. The default set is things not necessarily that I want, so I've taken them out. And filters, you can just choose what filters are shown. I've got them all switched on, so you can see all the filter bandwidths, and it's so easy to change the filter bandwidth. And as you probably noticed, you can see the bandwidth changing up here, because this is a display of the IF, intermediate frequency, in the receiver software, so you can actually see the bandwidth that we're looking at, 3.6 kilohertz wide, there it is, and we're looking at 14.074, the FT8 frequency, and you can see the individual carrier frequencies of the FT8 transmitters. And you could also see it here if you wanted. What you can do with this, you can move that frequency to the center of the screen if you want. You can zoom the whole screen, then it'll go off the edge. So let's move it to the center first using this button. Click that, it's gone to the center, and then zoom. You can roll the mouse wheel up and down, and there you can see how wide you can make the display. That's 3.6 kilohertz bandwidth, and there are all those carriers that you can see. This is in the RF spectrum. So normally I don't zoom in that close because I've got the IF display that I can look at. So that was the first thing I wanted to show you. Let's have a look at what else I wanted to talk about. Yeah, switching antennas I did already. What's not here is channel spacing. Why is that not there? It must be lower down. Let's stick to the order on here. Memory banks, plenty of them. So what you do, first of all, favorites are all pre-programmed memories that are programmed into the software. So you can just click one and it immediately changes to whatever you click on, which is very nice. They're usually set up with slow AGC. Yes, I don't want slow AGC, I want it fast. So what I do is I use memories, and then you've got these memory banks, 1 to 9. I think there are more you can add. And here's a whole lot of memory positions, plus there are even more up here, so there are a lot of these. And I've set these manually to what I want. So if I want 14.074, it puts it here, and then you can see the whole 20 meter band and its upper sideband, probably with, oh, it's also slow AGC. Okay, that yeah, maybe it gets saved, maybe it doesn't. But I can quickly switch bands and go to look where I want. Let's turn up the audio here. It's turned on at the moment, so you can hear those signals there. and you can very quickly switch to different places. Like that's the 10 megahertz band. I want to listen to that RTTY signal there. That's the weather broadcast from DDK9, I think it is. I use that for testing antennas, and you can see the propagation as this goes up and down during the day. So it's very quick at switching frequencies, which I like. 18 megahertz. Let's have a look at 28. It's not open at the moment. I use the FT8 frequencies a lot because there's always guaranteed to be a signal there, even if conditions are way down. There's always something, like even now there's something in there on 10 meters, so for me it's useful. That's all listening on the 14 megahertz whip antenna, of course. I've got different banks with different frequency bands, so that's all the HF bands. But if I go to bank 2, what have I got in here? Oh, this is very low frequency. If I click on that, that's 77 kilohertz. And that is the time signal from Germany. I forgot what it's called. Is it DFC 77? And it's the wrong antenna. It's a 20-meter whip antenna. So I can quickly show you. We go to Home and then click on Antenna. Not A, that's the VHF one, but B. Boom, that's the Wellbrook Loop active antenna. Now you can see there's a reasonable signal level being picked up down at 77 kilohertz on the loop. Also plenty of noise and strange things. Things like chargers for batteries and so on you find down here. Again, it's very quick and very easy to change frequencies. There's memories. So 161 kilohertz, that's the French time signal. Why am I saying this is a NDB, maybe, non-directional beacon. There it is. SHM, so that's Shoreham Airport, non-directional beacon. So I've saved these things. These tele-switch things used in Europe for switching things on and off over long distances. So they're all programmed in. What's bank 3? Oh, this is the Volmat lady on the wrong antenna. So let's go to the VHF antenna, which is A.
Temperature 6, dew point 5.
There she is, the aeronautical weather forecast lady. And I've got a whole load of aviation frequencies stored in there for different channels. That's the other Volmat frequency. And so on, it goes on and on. PMR frequencies, 2 meters. And you can just click around, and when you find an interesting signal, like, I don't know what that is, but when you find a signal, you can see it in the IF display, so you can get it centered. And if you want to save it, you just press a button like that, and now it's saved with the mode, bandwidth, everything. And if you want to change it, you can edit it or save it again when you've changed the settings, or you can clear it, as in delete. It's very, very versatile, I find. So it's 2 meters, and I've got some 70 centimeter things in here, frequencies that I might want to listen to. These are all the PMR 446 channels, 1 to 14 under there, and so on. It just goes on and on. These are Meshtastic frequencies. Let's have a look at 869.525. Of course, there's no activity, but there could be. You can see some little packets floating around here. So it's quite it's a very sensitive low noise receiver, the RSPDX, and this software I find works really well for my purposes. Let's have a quick listen at 433, because there's a lot of funny little signals. Here they are, the Internet of Things here, all these little bursts, 433 megahertz. One day we'll try Meshtastic down there, I'm sure. That's enough of that. Let's go back to my list of notes, and we've looked at modes and filters. I've turned that off already by hitting the Sigma button. Oh yeah, Tools tab, Options, Tuning, Step Size is quite important. So we go to the Tools tab, Options, Tuning, which is there, Step Sizes here. These are all the things you can change in the receiver SDR software. And here I like to choose step sizes that suit me. So for CW I want to go in 10 Hz steps, AM 1 kHz, USB or SSB 100 Hz I like to use. And this means that you can scroll the mouse wheel, and as you can see the frequency is moving across the display here. So scrolling the mouse wheel will go in those step sizes of 10 Hz or 100 Hz or whatever you put in there. You can go in 25 kHz steps if you want on 2 meters. So I find that very useful. Let's go back into here. Sometimes a band plan pops up, and if I don't want to see it, you can turn it off under the View tab. What's very important for me is, because I like all those memories so much, I want to be able to back them up and restore them. And we go to the tab called Tools, Files, User folder. Let's do that quickly. So Tools, we're already there. Files is there. User folder. And this opens up the User folder. And in here, the files with settings that are saved by the SDR Console software. And this one, I think, let me just check if it's the right one. Yeah, SDR Quick Memory 000.xml, so it's kind of a spreadsheet. That's this one. That contains all of the stored memories, which is why it's a bit bigger, 87 kilobytes. And it's the previous version. I created that manually. So what you can do is you can back this up, make a copy, put it somewhere else. You can also paste it into a different computer running that software, and it'll then have all those memories instantly available. And what I do is I save previous versions and current versions and move it to different machines. So it's a quick way of setting up the memories, which I find very useful. Yeah, so copy. Oh, it does contain the Windows ID in the file. So you can see which machine it came from if you look inside, which is interesting. Privacy issue there, perhaps. So that is the SDR Console software. Let's just go back to have a look at it. I like it. It's very busy. You can adjust things like the low and the high thresholds using mouse over for the spectrum display and the waterfall, center the frequency, zoom, as we saw. So I find it very practical to use and works really well with the RSPDX. And the reason I made this video is several people asked me, what's that software? Because not everyone's seen it. I discovered it when I was looking around one day last year, maybe, and decided I really liked it. So let's go back to camera 1, which should be that one. And that didn't work. Do it again. Okay, that's camera 1. Still learning how to use OBS shortcuts. So thank you for watching if you've managed to watch this far. And give that software a try, because I find it works really nicely for me. Maybe you'll like it too. And please make comments, ask questions, and suggestions for future videos are also very welcome. So see you again in the next video. Remember, if you like, to like and subscribe.